Here's the big question to start us off. What is cybersecurity? So cybersecurity is the comprehensive effort to protect computers, programs, networks, and data from attack, damage, or unauthorized access. This is done using both technological solutions as well as non-technological best practices. Let's break this down a little bit. So cybersecurity is the effort to protect computers, programs, and data. So we're not just talking about desktop computers or supercomputers that you see in those racks on television at hosting companies and data centers. We're talking about protecting your own business network. We're talking about protecting your home network. Because if you do business at home, then the data at home is at risk. And more freelancers and startups are all working from decentralized places on their own personal computers. And so when you're working on your personal computer, but you store the same type of customer data, credit card information, personal information that people submit through signups and things like that on your personal computer, well, then you're running the same risks that businesses with large networks run into. And so from attack, damage, and unauthorized access, we're going to learn later that unauthorized access is something that happens externally, and so you hear all of these media stories about hackers and things like that breaking into banks and stealing security information. Target, what the large retailer, had a lot of information stolen from its data centers, but unauthorized access is a lot more likely to happen internally, and we'll talk about how 80% of unauthorized data access happens internally from employees, people you work with, people who steal cell phones and things like that, or borrow cell phones knowing that you have information, rather than external strangers attacking or damaging your data. And so that's something that we're going to break down a very, very robust way. And finally, it's done through technological solutions as well as non-technological best practices. So cybersecurity might have to do with making sure that network firewalls are up to date. That's a technological solution. A non-technological best practice for cybersecurity might just be to put a strong password on your laptop, or keep your cell phone, add a password to your cell phone, or add a feature where you can brick your cell phone, i.e. Destroy all the data, assuming that it gets stolen. So that might be both a non-technological and technological best practice at that point. So yeah, there's a lot in this definition. We'll be breaking it down in more detail as we go on. One thing you should realize is that because large businesses have now spent a lot of time and money securing their information and computer system, that smaller businesses are being targeted more often than ever. And so generally, large businesses like banks or other technology companies that store lots of personal information have been targets because the value of their information is so high. Think about it this way. If you're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out the perfect heist, the perfect place to break into, you might as well break into the place that has the most interesting, most valuable data. But now smaller businesses and startups are carrying more and more of this data, and it's getting harder and harder to get to the large targets. So now small businesses and startups have to worry as well because they're easier targets. There are lots of types of information that may be targeted and misappropriated, either from the inside, i.e. people who work for you, or from the outside, people attempting to gain access to your business information. And so the types of information that we're talking about when we're discussing cybersecurity issues are personal information from employees, information from partners that you work with, so third parties that you work with, sensitive information from clients and customers. So this could be information that's submitted through a contact form, like name, address, phone number, and then finally financial or sensitive business information. So this includes both customer information, including credit card numbers that might be submitted, as well as your own financial records for your business, your own customer lists, which are sensitive. So keeping this in mind, some of the tenets of the main tenets of cybersecurity that we're going to talk about in more detail are that information needs to be secured in your systems. This includes, in your systems, include everything from office computer networks to your personal cell phones, your laptop, etc. Information should be kept confidential and should only be available as needed and should be kept as accurate as possible. And so we're going to talk a lot about how one of the best tips to keep information as secure is to only pass along access to that information to the people who need it. And so not necessarily leaving a important file unpassword protected inside of your Google Drive that everybody has access to, but instead putting a password on that file and only giving a password to those who need it, and then changing that password every couple of weeks to make sure that only the people who continue to need it will have access to that document. So we'll talk a lot more about that. And finally, your website, which is hosted remotely, so it's not your computer, but it's your forward-facing public website, needs to be secure, or it will put potential or current customers at risk. And so another facet of this is not only thinking about how to keep your own computers and a lot of other electronic devices secure, it should be thinking about things like SSL technology, integrating that into your website, and integrating terms of use and privacy policy, and then following that privacy policy to a T, all to make sure that the information is safe. All right, so there's lots here to talk about, and we'll be talking a lot more about that in the course.